morning, or I'll be in full transparency. Good afternoon. We are taping this show a little bit early. Welcome to Mac and Jack. That's the first time I've done that in a while. Jack and Keith's weekend playbook. We're here a day early because we have some previous commitments tomorrow morning, but you'll see this plausibly live. So any comments, I'll try to pop in and comment on these later. I want to welcome in Hall of Fame boxing writer Jack Hirsch, my co-host today. Good afternoon. Good morning, Jack.
Hey, Keith, we're not missing anything on tape delay because realistically, the only big game that I could think of, and it's not big at all, an NFL exhibition game, you know, the Indianapolis Colts, Anthony Richardson, how he's going to look in the quarterback battle between him and Daniel Jones. That's the only thing we can't comment on. And I don't think that many people give a darn about that.
I do have interest in that. I actually, for giggles, I'm going to start there. Anthony Richardson, I remember talking about that. If I'm not mistaken, he went in the same draft. I said Will Levis was the best quarterback, if I'm not mistaken. I said then, and I think a lot of people did, Indianapolis reached for Richardson on
number 4 overall.
Yeah, raw athleticism instead of football talent. And that's been proven out, I think, to be so far, to be true so far. He hasn't played well. He's been hurt. I think this is a good spot for Daniel Jones to land and possibly rejuvenate his professional career. Do you think that Daniel Jones has life left in him?
Yeah, I mean, good enough to hang around the league. But the reality is Daniel Jones just isn't that good. He was with the Giants, 5 years, and he had one good year the whole time. And I don't want to hear that he was injured, he had this, he had that. Regardless, there are reasons he had only one good year, you know, in all those years he was with the Giants. And then he went to the Vikings. And how high were the Vikings on his potential? I mean, they couldn't play him last year because they had Sam Darnold playing well. And I know they were invested in J.J. McCarthy. But either the Vikings have a heck of a lot of faith in McCarthy, or they don't have much faith in Daniel Jones. But from Daniel Jones's, to let Daniel Jones go. But from his perspective, I could understand. He saw an opening in Indianapolis because Anthony Richardson hasn't fulfilled his potential, if you feel he had the potential to be that good to begin with.
Yeah, you know, those were bad football teams too. And I always tried to stick up for Daniel Jones, right? Part of Daniel Jones' problem wasn't Daniel Jones' problem. He didn't ask to be picked 6 in the draft. He didn't ask him, to get overdrafted the same way Anthony Richardson was. And I think that put more pressure on him. I think if he was a second round draft pick, a third round draft pick, I think things might have gone different for him in New York, or at least the way people look at him, because he was not a 6th round pick. He should not have been. And I think this is a chance for him to maybe get a fresh start. Minnesota wasn't just a stopover. They were never going to play him. As you said, they had Darnold. They wanted to keep Darnold. They had J.J. McCarthy. I think he's a better quarterback than Anthony Richardson. I think he'll win this battle.
But when Anthony Richardson was drafted number 4 overall in the draft, it's always stuck with me what the GM said of the Colts. If he turns into a major star, I'll never forgive myself, because Anthony Richardson has such athletic talent. And they saw the upside in him if he could put it all together. And if he did, and imagine he was a superstar and you bypassed him. But that's like picking scared. That's not like picking the guy you want. You're scared he might turn into something and you might look really bad. And it's like throwing good money after bad with Anthony Richardson. He's injury prone. He doesn't know when to go down. He tries to pick up a couple of extra yards, gets hit. And you tell me, from college, was he really that good to begin with?
Florida was horrible. This is a kid that I watched. There was a show on Netflix called QB1, which followed every year. It hasn't been on for a few years, since COVID, I think. But his was the last season. They followed 4 high school quarterbacks through their high school season, and they're heading into college. This kid was just a man-child. He was a great athlete, but even in high school, the guy was hurt all the time. He wasn't focused, and he had some family issues, and I remember going all the way back to that, and he's always had raw talent, raw athleticism, but I see taking a chance at a wide receiver, right, or a running back on their pure athleticism. But quarterback is a different position that I don't think you can gamble like they did, because you're risking your job, your franchise's future, and I think it's bearing out right here. And to be scared, to say I'm scared if I didn't pick him, he's going to turn into a superstar. You can't run these teams out of being scared. Look at the Yankees forever wouldn't trade Gary Sanchez because they were afraid he would be successful somewhere else. If he's not successful here, what's the difference? So you can't run these organizations on what might happen if you do or do not make a move. You gotta have the confidence in what you're doing, and what the results are the results.
Well, I'm not the biggest fan of exhibition games, but there are certain storylines once in a while where it means a lot. And this is one of them, because the Colts starting quarterback position is up for grabs. But I'm going to tell you, it's really not 50-50 for Daniel Jones. At the end of the day, it's Anthony Richardson's job to lose. Because if you give the Indianapolis Colts a choice of who they would want to win the job, they want Anthony Richardson to win the job because they drafted him so highly. It would validate the draft pick. But Daniel Jones is there to pick up the pieces. If Anthony Richardson doesn't win the QB job, then Daniel Jones is the alternative. But how much better would he be than Anthony Richardson? I find it hard to believe Daniel Jones is going to take over at Indianapolis and become one of the better quarterbacks in the league, on average starting NFL quarterback. Once in a while, something goes against the grain, like in the case of Geno Smith, who had, came into the league as a starter, then was a backup all the years, and we thought for sure he was a career backup, case closed, and somehow he rejuvenated his career.
Yeah, you don't see that. I mean, you see that, but you don't see it a lot. And I think you're right. Preseason games normally don't hold a lot of interest for me, but I think Browns games well this year. I think Colts games well this year, because I think they're probably the only teams with quarterback battles. I mean, I guess you could count the Giants in there. But let's talk about those other two situations as well. The Brown situation, they bring in Hundley because I believe Pickett got hurt, so now they got a fifth quarterback. Flacco theoretically is the de facto starter. So you're going to see Shedeur Sanders and Dylan Gabriel. Actually, I think it was Gabriel that got hurt, and that's why they brought in Hundley. If I'm not,
you won't see them tomorrow night. Gabriel is going to be out because he has the hamstring issue. Flacco is going to be out.
Well,
they brought in Tyler Huntley, the former Raven quarterback. He actually made a Pro Bowl team, as crazy as it is with the Ravens. It shows you what a joke the Pro Bowl is. 100%. Huntley, let me tell you something, Keith. Huntley is a very good quarterback. He just has one weakness. He can't pass the ball. Well, that's his only weakness. So outside of that, he's a really good quarterback.
Well, then your guy
just can't throw the ball well.
Your guy Brian Hoyer ought to teach him how to hold a clipboard, I guess.
Yeah.
He'll have a career in the NFL because he couldn't throw the ball either.
You're making me think these old New England quarterbacks. Jimmy Garoppolo, he's still around. He's a backup with the Rams now, right?
I think he's
with the Chargers. I don't know. Garoppolo is somewhere. Has he slipped under the radar, going from a high-profile NFL quarterback, nearly winning a Super Bowl, and I mean, he's in kind of the quietest backup in the league.
Let's see, where is he? He's with the Rams.
He's with the Rams. Yeah, he's Matthew Stafford's backup. And I think Devontae Adams, who was very critical of Garoppolo when he was with the Raiders, he didn't like the idea of Garoppolo throwing him the ball, is now paired potentially with Garoppolo. Again, if Stafford gets hurt.
Wow.
You imagine this Devontae Adams. He tries to escape Aaron Rodgers, winds up back with Aaron Rodgers in New York, tries to escape Jimmy Garoppolo and could be back with Jimmy Garoppolo throwing him the ball.
You may have to retire to avoid these guys.
It's like Ed Norton saying, why, oh, why must I be blessed with all this musical talent?
That's probably the first honeymooners. No, who'd you say? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Now I forget the reference. I lost my train of thought. What was the reference?
The first honeymoon is, I just like to use the lines now and then.
Oh, God, I love that. When you can fit stuff like that in the show, you're doing a great job, Jack.
Oh, yeah. You try to get it in there when you can. But there are these storylines going on. Shedeur Sanders, is intriguing to me. Now, Keith, you know a lot more about college football than I do. That's your specialty, like boxing is my specialty.
Yep.
So I defer to you on college football. Even though I followed it more last year, I'm going to make an even greater effort to, follow it more this year. But I'm never going to get up to your level as far as that goes. We were talking a little before the show, and I did see some of the Colorado games last year. Mm-hmm. And maybe I was being naive for what I saw on the surface. I thought Shedeur Sanders was good enough to be a starting quarterback in the league. When I say a franchise quarterback, I'm not talking about one of the best quarterbacks in the league, but a good, solid quarterback.
Yeah. I agree. The fact that they were talking about him as a top 10 pick last year or even the first pick was ridiculous. He wasn't that good. In fact, I'm not sure Cam Ward, who I'm a big fan of the Hurricanes and a big fan of Cam Ward, I'm just sure he's a top 10 pick. But quarterbacks, we know, get overrated. But Shedeur Sanders is also not a fifth-round pick. Shedeur Sanders should have been probably second round, maybe mid-second round at worst. And probably late first round. He will be, if given a chance, and it may not be in Cleveland. It might be somewhere else just because of circumstances. He'll be a productive NFL quarterback. He can play. He can throw the ball. He's accurate with the ball. He's got some things he's got to work on, right, that you don't necessarily have to be on top of in college like you do in the NFL, but he can be an NFL quarterback if he is coachable. You got to be coachable.
His situation, but Keith, would you compare his situation to Tim Tebow's? Not so much as a player, because Shedeur Sanders has more upside than Tebow, but Tebow was a good enough quarterback to at least hold a backup spot, third string, for some team and make a career out of that as a third stringer, okay? But they didn't want Tebow around because he was a huge distraction.
Exactly.
Not Tebow himself as an individual, but all the attention he brought, it just wasn't worth the price of admission.
It's very unfortunate. Tim Tebow is one of the top 5 college players of all time, without a doubt.
Wow.
Without a doubt. And but that doesn't mean that's not always going to translate to the professional level. We know that. He was a great college player. In the pros, all of his weaknesses were exposed, though. His release, his mechanics were not good. In college, all you had to do is be athletic and make smart plays, and he could do that. And he had great players around him in Florida, and that didn't hurt either. But they were exposed in the NFL. Shedeur Sanders, to me, has a better chance to be a good NFL quarterback than Tebow ever had. And Tebow was a much better college quarterback than Shedeur.
But let me run this by you, too. If I want to see some underlying points of evidence that would favor Shedeur, 2 of the receivers drafted, Travis Hunter, Jimmy Horn, those were his guys. Some of their success had to be because of Shedeur, I would think that.
Without a doubt. I mean, and by the way, he played with a horrendous offensive line there, especially his junior year. It was better his senior year, but his junior, that thing was, you and I could have played offensive line there and done as good a job as those guys did, which was awful, by the way.
And he's never sold out of teammates from what I picked up. No. I mean, he's been
I think Shedeur he's got this label, and he's got to find a way to shed it, that he's immature, that he didn't interview well, and he's cocky, and he's all this stuff, and all that can go away if you just show you're coachable, you do the things that you're asked to do, you're not, You're not throwing your teammates under the bus, which he hasn't done. Don't try to talk your way into a position, play your way into it. And if you don't play right away, watch, learn, and I think Shedeur can be a decent player in this league.
I think they have, the Browns, a major problem with Shedeur Sanders. They don't know what to do, despite what the owner, Jimmy Haslett, says. I believe he was behind them drafting Shedeur. Maybe he didn't say it straight out, but he may have mumbled something. I can't believe no one has taken Shedeur Sanders yet. It's crazy. Imagine saying that to your coach and GM when they still have to pick. They kind of get the message in that sense. But the Browns have a Shedeur Sanders problem now. He's obviously not their guy, but he's hard to cut. And they have all these quarterbacks. Yeah, they're going to move on from Tyler Huntley. He's a Band-Aid for them right now. He's not going to stick unless the other guys are injured. He's not going to stick. They're not going to. Deshaun Watson is never going to see the field again for Cleveland in all likelihood, unless there's a bunch of injuries when he's ready to come back. That's unlikely to happen. Okay, so. Basically, and Flacco, they didn't bring him in and pay him to cut him. He's going to be there, probably starting, or he's the primary backup. Kenny Pickett, you get the feeling they're not going to cut him, despite what people say. But and it's certainly not going to cut Dylan Gabriel. One of the guys got to go to the practice squad. And can you imagine Cleveland putting Shedeur on the practice squad, figuring, well, no one is going to pick him up? And it's possible no one will pick him up. But then again, has he recrafted his image to an extent? Now, I know he had the immaturity with the speeding tickets, okay? That's inexcusable. That's very bad. But outside of that, he's conducted himself okay, told his dad, don't come to camp. You're going to be a distraction. That was a great move, by the way.
Yes, 100%. And that's what I was talking about. He needs to keep those distractions out of his life, out of his way, focus on football. He can become a player. Whether it's with the Browns again is a different question, because Jimmy Haslett, he threw his GM under the bus a few weeks ago, just before training camp opened, that was a GM's pick. Well, it was his pick. Nobody else. But
I'm going to tell you, Keith, this. If they move on from Shedeur Sanders, part of the fear, too, we were talking about Anthony Richardson earlier. If he thrives for another team, and if Cleveland's still struggling at quarterback, they never lived that down. The fan base is furious. We had him, and you just give them up like this over the guys we have now?
Look, at those things happen a lot, and you can't be afraid to make those moves. Just a guy's not helping you, as I said earlier. You've got to do something. Now, if they'd want to put him on a practice squad, they probably should not play him at all in the preseason so he can show anything.
They have to play him. They have to play him by process of elimination. He's the only one healthy.
Well, I guess they could.
They have to, and he's playing. Listen, and this is what works. This is what's going to work against him. He's been practicing with the third stringers, and he's playing the starting, unit of Carolina Panthers.
No, they're going to play about one series of starting unit, so I wouldn't put a lot of stock in that. He's going to play at least half of this game, and he's going to play most of that against second and third string players. So he can show something, and if he shows something in preseason, I don't know how the Browns can take a chance on putting him on the practice squad, as you talked about, because somebody's liable to take a chance on him.
Well, they're not going to move on from Dylan Gabriel, the third-round draft choice. He's going to be on the roster. Flacco is going to be on the roster. You get the feeling Kenny Pickett could be the odd man out.
I would say so. I think.
Yeah, if I had to make a prediction, yeah.
They got two choices with Shedeur. You play him a lot, hope he shows something so you can trade him for at least a fifth-round draft pick. Because I can't believe you can trade him for more than that, because people could have drafted him.
Let me say one more thing. Yeah. If it wasn't for Shedeur Sanders, would anyone outside of Cleveland give a darn about the Browns? they'd be about the most boring team, to talk about. But because Shedeur Sanders is on it with all this quarterback competition, it's a big deal. Eliminate Shedeur from it. Who cares who gets the job between Gabriel, Pickett, and Flacco? It's not a big deal. It's not much of a talking point. But throw Shedeur Sanders in the mix, it's newsworthy.
I think the big loser here is actually Kevin Stefanski, who, he's probably going to end up getting fired over this whole nonsense that the Browns have turned into as a franchise the last couple of years. And this is a guy who had his team a fumble away from the AFC Championship game just 3 years ago. I mean,
yeah, and Tom Brady is coming up with all this advice. He's close to Shedeur, this. Well, we know Brady has influence within the Raider organization. You mean when Shedeur was slipping in the draft, they couldn't take him in the 4th round?
Sure, they could have.
Yeah, well, they didn't. There's a reason there.
But who's their backup, by the way? Because, Geno's not exactly made of steel.
Who did they have?
They still have the same guy, O'Donnell, or what's his
name?
Yeah,
Aiden O'Connell. Yeah. Well, Geno Smith is Pete Carroll's guy from Seattle.
But if he gets
obviously there's a great relationship. Yeah, but there's a lot of storylines going on. I mean, this is funny. Well, not so funny for Russell Wilson. He attended a concert at MetLife Stadium, the Giants Stadium, and they booed the starting quarterback.
That's a bad
sign. Hasn't taken a snap yet.
Let's talk about the Giants for a second, because Russell Wilson's the de facto starter. Can Jackson Dart win that job, or at least he can win the backup job, I'm sure, from Winston. But if he plays lights out in preseason, I think he's the best quarterback on that roster right now. I think he's a guy I think is going to be a star in this league.
Well, no, Jackson Dart, they drafted him to start him. The clock was ticking on Russell Wilson. The moment they drafted Jackson Dart, the clock was ticking on Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
But how long it's going to take Jackson Dart to play is twofold. I mean, Brian DeBal's had a good look at him, and he has an idea by now whether Jackson Dart could be ready at some point this year. And Brian DeBal might be thinking he's a work in progress. He's got a lot of potential. We'll get him ready next year. We'll live with Russell Wilson this year. And all Russell Wilson can do is delay the inevitable. If he's playing really well, he's hard to take on. Sometimes he can't even delay the inevitable. How did Eli Manning get a start? The Giants have, a 5-4 record. Kurt Warner was the starter, future Hall of Fame, and Kurt Warner wasn't playing poorly.
No.
And they replaced him with Eli.
Well, they had a plan. I think they were 5-4, I think, too, and they replaced him.
And Andy Reid with Alex Smith and Patrick Mahomes, everyone knew as soon as they drafted Mahomes, he's going to be on the bench for 1 year. He's not playing. Alex Smith is the starter. And at the end of the season, for the following year, Mahomes takes over.
Yeah. Well, and again, that's the way to do it. But here's the thing. Neither one of those coaches' job was in jeopardy, and this one is. So how long do you wait before you put Jackson Dart in there?
We don't know sometimes what an owner's thinking. Look, we mentioned Brian DeBal a little while ago. After the disaster the Giants had last season, you wouldn't think he would have been back, or the GM Joe Shine, the way they botched the Saquon Barkley thing, and it was an absolute nightmare. An absolute nightmare. I mean, they look totally inept the way they handled the Saquon Barkley thing. And he goes to the Eagles. And Saquon Barkley is what you and I call a legacy player.
Yeah.
Certain players should be with their team their whole career.
Yeah.
Their whole career. And they have such value to the franchise that when Saquon Barkley fit that perfectly, he should have been a career Giant. And great image, excellent player. And just for the little amount of money to give him, they overthought it. And he goes to the Eagles. And when Saquon Barkley goes into the Hall of Fame someday, he's going in as a Philadelphia Eagle.
Most likely, for sure. You won a Super Bowl and had one of the great seasons in NFL history. So, yes. And unfortunately for Shine and Dable, that all played out in front of millions of people on Hard Knocks, which made it even worse, right? Because that was right there for everybody to see all the missteps that they took during that whole thing. And John Mara, you said, who knows what the owner's thinking? We don't know what he's thinking because he said we have to be better for them to keep their jobs, but we don't know what better is. He didn't say playoffs. He didn't say 7 wins. He didn't say anything. So is it a good idea that when you've got to get your franchise quarterback, and they knew they were going after their franchise quarterback, should you do that with 2 guys? I mean, are they going to make decisions that are best for the franchise this year just on Jackson Dart, right? Are they going to make decisions that are good for the franchise or good for them because their jobs are on the line? They can't go 2 and what's the matter?
Giant ownership is patient to a degree. They don't like to fire coaches. And hypothetically, let's say the Giants go 6-11. But before the year's out, Jackson Dart is looking good, like he's the future of your team. They can kind of justify the season as a throwaway because it's on Jackson Dart. But if Jackson Dart doesn't show serious potential, and we have a 6-11, 7-10 season again, it's bad. I mean, the Giants actually have a very good defense. They really have a good defense, but and they got a great receiver in Malik Neighbors, but they're lacking in the running back position. The offensive line is so.
I'm not sure. I mean, 6 wins, I think, would be good for them right this year, and I don't know if that's enough to keep. And I like Dable. I think Dable can coach. I mean, he got his second season. He got that team into the playoffs, and they weren't very good. That wasn't a very good team.
The Saquon Barkley handling of that situation alone, to me, that's a fireable offense. That's the reason enough for me to fire them, obviously combined with the record, because the way they handled it so nonchalantly, it's Saquon Barkley, who was the ultimate team player, never held out, represented the Giants perfectly on and off the field.
So I think they're connected at the hip. I think you do too, Shine and Dable. I think one goes right.
Dable, Shine's guy from Buffalo.
Yeah, they're going to go together. They're either going to succeed together.
I'm not saying what I think. You take it year to year. The record shouldn't necessarily get a coach fired. Right. But a lot of these coaches, they get fired and then they get a job elsewhere. And if they're good enough to get a job elsewhere, why should they get fired to begin with? I mean, if you're asking me a coach who I think is going, maybe not get fired, not going to be there next year, one of the great coaches, arguably in NFL history, Mike Tomlin, I get the feeling this is his last year coaching with the Steelers. He might take a year off, but he'll be coaching elsewhere.
I'm starting to get a little worried, Jack, because you seem to read my mind, and it's scaring me to death here. Because I was just going to ask you about Mike Tomlin. We were talking about coaches.
No kidding. Wow.
And the Pittsburgh situation.
There are storylines.
Everywhere.
All this talk that's going on about the Steelers now, they have an elite defense. They might be Super Bowl contenders. I'm missing something. I am missing something. I see Mike Tomlin's string of winning records. What is it, 18 seasons or so?
Yeah.
I see it ending this year, and I don't see and I see this being Aaron Rodgers last year. I don't mean Aaron Rodgers is going to be terrible, but I don't think the Steelers are going to do well, and there's not going to be a demand for Aaron Rodgers next year. Aaron Rodgers is never going to be a backup anywhere.
No, and I
can't see that happening unless Aaron Rodgers lives right in the area. For example, let's make believe Aaron Rodgers settles down in Kansas City. Yeah, he might like being Patrick Mahomes' backup because he comes into work, hangs out with the guys, practices, has fun, makes some road trips. It would have to be a crazy scenario like that. Other guys, all these guys, you notice this, Keith, who are former starters, they wind up as backups and they're just waiting for an opportunity somewhere, somehow. I mean, there's so many of them.
Jimmy Garoppolo, you mentioned earlier.
Jimmy Garoppolo waiting, Andy Dalton waiting. Sometimes it happens. Baker Mayfield,
Kirk Cousins,
with the backup, with the Rams, goes to Tampa Bay.
Worked out for him. Yeah,
it works out. Daniel Jones, he went to the Vikings as a backup, and now he sees an opportunity in Indianapolis. They look at an opportunity. If you're going to be a backup somewhere like a Mitch Trubisky at Buffalo, you're not going to be a starter. You know that.
No.
You're resigned to being a backup, knowing the only way you're going to see the field is if the starter gets injured, and you're with a great team, a great program, and it's a cushiony little job to be a backup sometimes.
Well, talking about the Steelers, Rodgers has said he's on board to play week 1 in the exhibition season if that's what the Steelers want. To me, that it brings up a question that always bothers me. We've cut the preseason down to 4 games or 3 games. Well, how much is it? Is it 3 games or 4? I don't even know. But it doesn't matter because nobody plays in them. We have such bad football in the month of September because none of the starters, we don't hit enough in practice. And Mac, I know, used to always agree with me. One of the things we did agree with is the fact that they don't hit anymore in practice. They can't, there's so many regulations that the NFL Players Association has put, through as part of the collective bargaining agreement. Players don't play. None of the starters play during the preseason. And what we end up with is a month of horrendous football for the most part in September. And why don't these teams care about playing good football early in the season and putting a good product on the field?
You made that point last season, and it was more of a problem than I even thought, even though I've been watching football, all these years in September, year after year after year. You were lamenting about the quality of play being so poor in September. Anyone can beat anyone then. That's why it's so hard to predict who's going to win these games, because a team you think is the worst team could be a team you think is the best team because they're not really ready. And I saw that happen last year right off the bat.
Patriots,
like there was a shot. The Patriots beat the Bengals, and it's been a problem with the Bengals. I mean, once they warm up, they're a darn good team, but they get off to these horrendous starts, it seems, year after year. And I was shocked. The New England Patriots, who some people are thinking would be the worst team in the NFL last year, go into Cincinnati opening day and beat a Super Bowl contender. It didn't make any sense.
That game kept the Bengals out of the playoffs. That one loss. Well, you could have pointed to other losses, obviously, but that's one you'd say they should have won that game. As a Patriot fan, I'll tell you they should have won that game. And to me, it goes back to the fact that you're not ready to play yet on week 1. And if you're willing to kick away playoff opportunities like the Bengals did last year, and you're right, they get off to bad starts a lot. And it ties back to me to training camp, lack of hitting, lack of playing together in preseason games. I was watching some preseason games on YouTube for whatever freaking reason. I have no idea. But the starters are playing the entire game, in week 1.
What year are you talking about?
These we're talking about, right? So it's 50 years ago.
Okay. But I'm going to tell you when that philosophy is going to change. We're going to get a coach. I don't know who it is, who's going to pick up on what we're talking about. We're living in the age of analytics.
Yeah.
He's going to have his starters playing as a unit. Every exhibition game, they're going to play the majority of the game, so they're ready to go by week 1 and have an advantage over these other teams who are fumbling around, experimenting this and that. What I don't get is this. Teams make the mistake, to me, of drafting guys based on what they do at the combines. It's okay for late round draft picks. That's fine. You take a chance on the 5th, the 6th, the 7th round pick when they show you in the combines. Otherwise, you have game tape. What I don't understand is why I lost my train of thought actually here, but it had to do with opening day.
Yeah.
I mean, why do they need to keep playing all these guys in the exhibition season? They turn the exhibition season into one big combine.
They know what they have.
Why do it?
Those guys should get reps in practice. Maybe in games, you can play them at the fourth quarter or something, but the starters need to play a lot more. They're afraid, Jack. Again, it goes back to my whole thing about fear. The same thing. They're afraid of trading guys away because of what they'll do when they go somewhere else. They're afraid to play guys because they might get hurt. Well, if you're going to get hurt in the preseason, you can just as easily get hurt in game 1, game 2, game 17. Yeah. If you're going to get hurt, you're going to get hurt.
Another sticking point, these holdouts.
Yep.
He said the latest is going to be Cameron Haywood. He's not exactly a holdout. They come to training camp, but they won't practice with the team. And the only reason they're in training camp so they don't get fined, so they don't lose their money. But to me, that's insubordination. Like Trey Hendrickson, you see him walking, he's helping the other players, but he won't put the pads on. I don't get this, Keith. Why can't a coach tell a guy like a Trey Hendrickson, you're not working out, you're not injured, we're fining you, whatever. We're not putting up with this insubordination. You're just showing up so you could get because you want his new contract or whatever. Listen, I'm sympathetic to the new contract. I don't want to hear, well, a player's career is short, a player can get hurt. The NFL Players Association, they negotiated certain deals. In the case of Micah Parsons, he's still on this rookie deal. They negotiated the deal, the players' union. They negotiated the deal where a team could franchise a player. It's a negotiated settlement. Be mad at your own union. That's the way they negotiated it.
I don't disagree.
Listen, I was a career teacher, but if all of a sudden other city workers, firemen, policemen were getting paid a lot more than teachers, am I going to go on strike while I'm under contract? Well, if I got 2 years left on my contract, I'm going to finish the 2 years. I mean, I'm not going to say, okay, I'm coming into work, but I'm not teaching, so I could get paid. Imagine that. Some people felt I did that anyway, but that's beside the point.
You actually had.
Maybe not a good example.
The teachers union is actually a really strong union compared to the NFL Players Association.
I'm kicking myself, Keith, because a few years ago, I'm introduced to Troy Vincent at the annual banquet of the Boxing Writers Association of America. The current president there, Joe Santoliquito, is very close with him when he played for the Eagles. And he introduces me to him. And he's at my table with me. And I don't even talk to him hardly at all. I could have picked his brain on the NFL. He's sitting by himself. And I'm at the table. Could have hung out with him. We had a picture taken together. I mean, I have a photo of that. But, I mean, missed opportunities.
I had a friend of mine, I'll tell you, missed opportunities. I'm a big Neil Diamond fan. I don't know about yourself. I love Neil Diamond. And he was in the area, this is like 30 years ago now. He played at what's now the MVP Arena. It was a Knickerbocker Arena. We played a golf tournament the day before. He gets himself totally drunk. He was playing in a foursome. He got himself invited to play in a foursome with Neil Diamond the next day. He got so drunk after a member guest at Amsterdam Uni that he didn't show up to play. Who doesn't show up to play golf with Neil Diamond? Are you kidding me? I would have, if I had to drive to the golf from the bar to the golf course, I would have done that. So it's missed opportunities.
I mean, there's so many missed opportunities. I talked with Frank Laterza, one of the boxing show Glove Fist, when he worked out at a gym in Philadelphia, these legendary trainers he could have sat with, talked, picked their brain. I had once after a race that was, it was a race done like to honor the old Brooklyn Dodger team.
Yeah.
Mrs. Jackie Robinson was there. Before I know it, I find myself there, like three of us hanging out together. I could have gone with this Brooklyn Dodger story, and I could have gone out maybe to lunch with him and Mrs. Robinson. Instead, cool. I'm anxious to get home. I could have picked her brain on Jackie Robinson, but my head's in the clouds. I could have done a little bet on this, a mile 3 of the race, or this or that.
She's still around. She's 100 years old. She can still have lunch with you. Just give her a ring. Give her a ring. Does she live in New York? I'm guessing she does.
Oh, I wouldn't know any now. Yeah,
You'll find her. Check her out. You'll find her. Oh, God, where the hell were we? I lost track of what the heck we were even talking about. The NFL. Anything else? I don't know. I got nothing else in the NFL.
Well, there's storylines right now. I mean, these other talk shows, they milk out the Micah Parsons signing. And just because teams make mistakes, you can't follow the leader. Everyone's getting on Jerry Jones. He's an easy guy to get on. He's an easy mark. But I'm getting tired of it. Jerry Jones does not have to renegotiate give Micah Parsons even an extension. But Jerry Jones, if you have all the leverage, why do you give someone something? Now, Micah Parsons' recourse is this. If Micah Parsons can be a great player the next 3 years, he's going to come out way ahead on this deal, way ahead. But there's a risk of him getting injured in a career-ending injury. But if it does happen,
that's any player.
That's any player. He's got $21 million this year. The only thing I can understand that I'm sympathetic with a player with, if a team is willing to give him more money but not guaranteed, the guaranteed sum has got to be a right sum. If a player has no guaranteed money at all on his deal, now I'm like iffy. I can understand, why to report to camp. I don't know what I report to camp if I have no guaranteed money on the deal, unless all that guaranteed money was front loaded and you've already gotten it. And that would be a mistake on the team's part to front load it all that way.
Well, you're right about Jerry Jones. He's not under any obligation to renegotiate anybody's contract, while they have one. I agree 100%, but I don't agree with the way he goes about negotiating with players in the press and ripping them in the press. He ripped Dak. He ripped Micah. He's like, why I pay these guys? They don't even play, half the games because they're hurt all the time. And
is he wrong? Is he wrong?
He's not wrong.
He's absolutely correct. Dak Prescott. Let's say the Dak Prescott contract situation was similar to the one with Micah Parsons right now, and it was maybe even a little big at the time. Let's say hypothetically, Keith, for 1 second, let's make believe Jerry Jones never made a deal with Dak Prescott. He had two alternatives. He could have kept, if he kept franchising him, Jerry Jones would have lost money.
Right.
It would have been a crazy amount.
Right.
But where was Dak Prescott going to go? If he was a free agent, I mean, is another team really going to break the bank for him? Is it possible? It only takes one team, like you always say.
Well, one stupid owner is what I like to say. Same thing.
Yeah, but, a lot of times you don't get that stupid owner either.
Well, I think somebody would have paid Dak. If the Dallas didn't pay him, somebody would have. I'm not the biggest Dak fan in the world because he hasn't done it on the big stage, right? And that's our big thing with quarterbacks. They have to win. And I'm spoiled in that regard, so I get it. But I wasn't always spoiled. And you need to be able to perform at some point on the biggest stage and get your team over the top. And I don't know if Dak's that guy or not, but Dak is certainly a top 10 quarterback in this league, without a doubt, in my mind.
Well, there might be some doubt. And maybe he's a top 10. We'd have to go over the list. He might fall slightly outside of the top 10. It's kind of iffy. Right. If you said he was the 10th best, I wouldn't blink. I mean, we know certain of the names: Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. I mean, Joe Burrow. Those four right off the top of my head.
Top five, whatever order you want.
You put him ahead of Jalen Hurts. I mean, you could, but Jalen Hurts just won a Super Bowl, was an MVP, and I know they're loaded, but you'd have to put Jalen Hurts ahead of Dak based on the Super Bowl, I think, right now. Right. And then you go down the list, and then it becomes, debatable in certain areas. I mean, you put Dak ahead of Jaden Daniels. I mean, you could say yes, but look what Jaden Daniels did.
I just saw somewhere.
Put him ahead of Justin Herbert, maybe. Justin Herbert's been disappointing to me. But we know what he's done before and what he might be able to do again.
I think there's like, once you get by the top 5, 6 guys, I think there's another 10 guys that you could put in any order you want from like 7 to 15.
Yeah,
right?
Dak Prescott or Jared Goff. Personally, I like Dak Prescott a little better.
I do too.
But it's arguable.
It is.
Speaking of that, did you see all this? The talk is Caleb Williams is having his problems. That Ben Johnson, their new coach, has so many offensive formations. It's driving the guys crazy. Even Roman Adunzi, their wide receivers as well. It might take a year to learn or something. Are they too oversaturated or what?
This is really starting to scare me because that's a note I added at the last minute. I noticed a story about that. And I was going to say, is there problems already in Chicago because Ben Johnson is such a cerebral coach and has all these plays? We saw them, and what's going to happen once if he has to dumb down this offense, we're going to get stupid comments about, comparing Caleb Williams to Jared Goff. And we know what that comparison would end up being, which is just silly. It's going to take time. That offense is complicated. Jared Goff didn't learn it overnight, and he's only been working on this for several months. I'm sure they were working on it even before the OTAs, probably in one form or another. I think this team will be okay. I think Caleb Williams is better than people think. Better than people think.
I think he's going to be a really good quarterback. I really do. He's going to be real good.
It's a brand new offense and a complicated offense. There's no doubt about that. It's a lot different than what he was running before because those guys, they were drawing up plays in the dirt for crying out loud before. So it'll be interesting to see. I still like Chicago's chances this year. And before the season starts, we'll do a show where we make some real predictions as we get towards what's opening.
You know what I don't like about predictions, Keith, on any show? No one's called out on it. Everyone should be called out on it 1 year later, and show what. Whether they're right, they're wrong. People make all these bold predictions like they know-it-alls. Like you see that with the commentators right after the fact. They're talking why the coach was wrong, why he went on it. Like, if a coach is going on it in, let's say, 3rd in the yard and a half, they'll keep their mouth shut. Then if the team doesn't make the first down, they'll say, well, at this point in the game, I don't think it was the wisest thing to do. Why didn't you say it beforehand?
I will promise you on this show, our audience will hold us accountable to our picks. I can speak from...
Wait, no, I recall our dear friend Mac. Didn't he once accuse you of flip-flopping? After the fact, I love that segment. I congratulated Mac, by the way, on that by coming out, calling Keith Engle out on it. Good going, Mac.
I am not a flip-flopper. I do admit when I'm wrong. That's a little different than flip-flopping, I think.
It took you a year to admit you were wrong on Will Levis.
I still have.
He had to get injured. Now you're finally saying I was wrong on Will Levis.
Hold on. I have not said I was wrong about Will Levis.
Oh, you're still holding out that Will Levis is okay.
It won't happen probably in Tennessee, but he could still be. I think he could still be the best player in that draft, best quarterback in that draft.
What about Trey Lance?
I did not like Trey Lance coming out of college. I didn't like him.
Now, is he in the perfect situation with Jim Harbaugh, who's arguably the best head coach to work with a young quarterback?
I would think Jim Harbaugh is not hoping he gets in a position where he needs Trey Lance to be a great quarterback because it'll mean that team's not going to win a lot of games. You can say what you want about Herbert. I think Herbert is going to be the perfect guy for Jim Harbaugh. And I think that team's going to be very good this year myself.
They're going to be very good. Denver's probably going to be good. Probably. And Kansas City's a bit of a wild card. They might slip badly this year. They might be the old Kansas City Chiefs. So we just don't know. And the Raiders should be better. How much better? It's a question mark.
Look at last year, and again, I have said I call myself out on my mistakes. I did not think Bo Nix would be anywhere near the player he was last year at all. He's going to be a very good quarterback from the looks of it. This year's bold prediction, though, right now, Kirk Cousins ends up being the Atlanta Falcons starting quarterback, and not because of injury at some point this year. Not because of injury. Just
if that is the case, okay, the Atlanta Falcons are not going to be contending for a playoff position.
Entirely possible.
It just looks like it's going to be tough to unseat Tampa Bay again. When you look at it, every year we're thinking, the Falcons will win it this year. Before that, maybe the Saints. The Saints aren't winning it this year. The Panthers are going to be better. Panthers could arguably take a run at winning the division title. But I'll say this for the Panthers. Bryce Young came on late during the season, played really well after they had virtually given up on him. If that's an aberration and he goes back to being struggling Bryce Young, it's going to set the whole franchise back.
Oh, 100%. I don't think you will. I liked Bryce Young coming out of college. I really did. And some guys, everybody's not going to be Stroud and have a great season, their first year. Some guys just got to take some time to get their feet under them.
But there comes a time where you have a lot of patience with a quarterback. You have to come to the conclusion, just because we invested in him, he's not our guy. I think the quarterback under the biggest microscope to me this year, is Trevor Lawrence. This is it. You got to show the potential to be, if not an elite NFL starter, at least a solid starter. You got to show it this year finally. You can't show me a flash like winning one playoff game once.
A fluke.
He's been a big disappointment, all in all, to me.
One of my great audience members who participates in the show challenged me to look at Lawrence's stats compared to Daniel Jones. They're almost identical. That's how bad.
That's the kind of deceiving.
I don't know.
I mean, you can have the theory, if you win one season, you can win other seasons if you've done it for a full year. And Daniel Jones did have one good year, but he's had
a good year. He threw 13
5 bad ones.
Yeah. We'll see about him. Let's pivot real quick. We're running out of time already. So we spent a lot of time.
I thought you'd comment on Devin Williams, the Yankees.
I want to talk about. First of all, the Red Sox playing great baseball. I want to give them some credit, playing great baseball right now. They did extend to one of the things you would like to talk about. They extended one of their really good young players, 8 years, $130 million. And that's a great team deal if this guy continues to improve.
And they have an option. They have like 9 years. If you believe in the player, you do that. The Red Sox are taking a chance too. If they've overestimated his value. And it's a good deal for the player. I mean, you're not going to get the money you'll get otherwise if you become a star in the league. But you're getting generational money. I mean,
that's life-altering money for sure. $130 million guaranteed.
Listen, I'm not the smartest, Keith, always, because I thought the Yankees should have done that with Anthony Volpe. But you want to know something? I still think it would have been good with Volpe, because if Lombard is ready to play, Volpe could always be made into a third baseman, second baseman. And I felt if they could get Volpe on a long-term deal, 10 to 12 million a year, that's affordable for the Yankees. I'm not saying 20, 25 million, 10 to 12 million a year long-term. I still think it would have paid off.
And hopefully Volpe would have jumped at that if they'd done it, because right now he's not going to get offered a long-term contract right now.
Volpe's played much better as of late. Keep that in mind.
All I need that guy to do is make the plays in the field. I don't need him to hit. I don't need him to do much except make all the routine plays.
Right? He'll be fine. Anthony Volpe will be fine. I'm not worried about him. He'll be fine.
Yankees and Mets, though, both are,
I'm going to tell you what annoyed me yesterday.
By the way, real quick, let me just set the stage here. Both these teams struggling. Yankees did break a 5-game losing streak yesterday, but have not been playing good baseball. Both of them hold the third wild card spot right now. The Yankees are only a big series against the Astros. The Mets got the Brewers. They're both in danger of falling out of the playoff. They'll be in the picture. Don't get me wrong, but they are neither one of these teams is a guarantee to be playing in the postseason right now as we speak.
Well, I'm actually going to be going to the Yankee Astro game tomorrow night at Yankee Stadium.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm going to be there. I want to mention something Juan Soto, which no one else mentioned. It kind of irked me. I don't know why. The Mets were losing 4-0, getting no-hitted.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
With 1 out in the 9th inning. Soto breaks up the no-hitter with 1 out in the last of the 9th. He hits a home run.
Yep.
You see Soto running around the bases with this devilish smile. Come on.
Boomer
I
size.
mean, okay, you're happy you hit a home run. It's your job to get a hit. Absolutely. You don't want the other guy to no-hit your team. You want to break it up. I'm great with that. That's the way it should be. But show a little respect. The guy's heartbroken. You broke up his no-hitter. Do it the way Mickey Mantle used to. Mantle would run with his head down because he didn't want to embarrass the pitcher. They don't need to see you, the guy's team, the pitcher, with this smile on your face.
You're also losing the game.
No-hitter.
You're also
I mean, come on. I mean, with Soto.
Look, if he hit a grand slam to put him ahead 4-3 or something, right? In that game, I would have said, all right, that's nice.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. If it was 1-0 and the guy has a perfect game and you break it up with 2 outs in the 9th and you tie the game up, you have every right to smile if you tied it up at that moment.
I've said for a while, this guy cares about his own numbers, and that's all he cares about. He's a selfish.
Yeah, no, he was a team player with the Yankees. He was a team player.
I think that team made him look like a team player, but I don't think
you'd see him on the top of the dugout steps cheering guys on. I'm not going to take it.
I'm not. And again, to be fair, I'm probably colored by my own. I don't like the way he plays the game. He's a great hitter, but he doesn't give you anything but a great bat. That's all he gives you. He blew. He cost him on the
base pass this year.
He's dangerous on the base pass. He cost him a run in a game yesterday in the outfield. Every game he's giving up runs one way or another. Yes, he's a great hitter. He's going to drive in a lot of runs. But I want to see, how about all these crazy stats we have, there's got to be one that says you produce this many, but you cost me this many between offense and defense and base running, everything combined. I don't think Soto is one of the great players in the game. He's one of the great hitters. Don't get me wrong. Great hitter.
He has something like 18 attempts at stealing bases, 17 successful. So, I mean, we could argue back and forth. Sure. Look, all the teams bid record-setting money on him in the offseason when he was a free agent.
Yeah.
They knew what type of player they'd be getting.
100%. Yankees knew who they're getting when they traded for him as well. So I get it. I think the Yankees were okay with him walking away though as well. I don't think anybody's heartbroken that he walked away.
You want to know something? That was one of the things where, as a Yankee fan, you badly wanted the Yankees to sign Soto, but on reflection, now that he's not there, even though I'm sure he has some big seasons in him, 15 years.
Yeah.
I mean, where's the last 5 years of that contract? He's going to be crawling.
I'm better off with 8 years of Max Fried than I am with 14 years of Soto in my mind. So that I'm okay with that trade-off. Which team are these teams both going to rebound? If you had to pick one of them to be they're a guaranteed lock to make the playoffs and do some damage, I'm making you pick one. I think as much as I'm down on the Yankees, I think the Yankees are a better bet than the Mets right now.
Well, the Mets would have a harder road in the playoffs to get to the World Series.
Actually,
despite people being down on the Dodgers, I think come playoff time, the Dodgers will be the Dodgers. And then you got the Phillies. And then you got the Brewers, who are they finally going to have the breakthrough. You get the feeling a team like Milwaukee, who's there every year,
can't win,
on the playoffs, contending, and never's made a serious run for the World Series, at least, not since they were there and lost to St. Louis in 1982. Eventually the Brewers, you get the feeling they're going to just break through.
This might be the year. I mean, they're playing well. They won, I think.
Then you got San Diego. You got the Padres who've made all these moves.
Best, and by the way, it comes out now. We had a lot of talk on my show. We got to wrap it up here, but we had a lot of talk on my shows after the trade deadline and some animated discussion about Mason Miller and how the Yankees didn't make a run at him, and the Yankees did make a run at him. They wouldn't give up Lombard or Spencer.
But the way the A's gave up their best, first, second, and third best prospect. Yeah,
they both went after him, and I said, if you're willing, and John Gonzalez, one of my best internet Facebook buddies, he runs one of the best groups of sports authorities, and he swore they could get him without giving up Lombard, and I said, no, they can't. If you're willing to give up Lombard, I love Lombard. I don't know if I would probably make that trade because prospects are called prospects for a reason. I don't know what he's ever going to do.
We'll never know for sure whether he's right or you're right. We just don't know. But now we know in the Yankee case, the Yankees weren't going to do it.
No,
rightfully so.
Again,
yeah.
Again, as I said before, though, the Yankees are not a team that really is worth going all in on. So I'm not giving up Lombard in that trade. Under other circumstances, I would trade Lombard for Mason Miller. Not this team. I don't think this team is all in ready. Myself. Anyway, what do you know? Who knows?
And the relievers, it's unpredictable. Right now, the biggest villain is Devin Williams. He would get booed the most of all the Yankees. If all the Yankees had to step forward and there was a booing contest, he'd get it by the worst by far. But keep this in mind.
You might have lost
Edwin Diaz, after coming to the Mets, had one horrendous season too, along the lines of Devin Williams, and he rebounded. And Edwin Diaz is one of the better closers in the game the Mets have now. They stuck with him. Yankees are going to stick with Devin Williams for two reasons. One, he's a free agent at the end of the season, so I doubt if they'll resign him. Two, he already lost his closer's job, and you and I both thought, let him work it out and get it back. He worked it out, and he was good for a while. He was. And now he's reverted back to his early season form. And the Yankees can't trust him. All they can do is put him in middle relief, and if he starts pitching well, maybe he'll get a shot at closing a game at some point. And if he does well, maybe he'll get another one. They can't just anoint him as the close anymore.
No, Bednar, I think, is a closer, and it may be a matchup.
Not on one game. I know what you're saying.
And he'd had a pretty good year up until now as well. Throw away his first game with the Yankees, which is atrocious. But he's had a very good season. I think Boone will use matchups, and there'll be different closers.
Luke, they might go back with Luke Weaver and a Bednar.
I don't like the fact that he made Weaver the sixth inning guy. How do we, Weaver's your best pitcher in the bullpen all year long. He becomes your sixth inning guy. I don't get that, but that might be with Devin Williams going forward. So we'll see.
Oh, wow.
We'll see. Anyway, Jack, we got to wrap it up here as we're a little bit over, but great show today. You enjoy whatever you got going on for the weekend, and are you doing the debate show Saturday, or are you?
No, I'm on the vacation. I have family coming in. I'll be on vacation for the week. And I'll be back a week from now.
Okay, yeah.
Not
Jack,
this Friday, yeah.
Yep, Jack.
I'll be back on Monday, the 18th of August.
Excellent. I'll be doing the show next Monday and Friday solo. So, guys, you can show up and be my co-host that day, and we'll have a lot of fun. And Jack will be back on.
No, I'll be the 16th. I'm back on the debate show. I'm sorry, not with you.
Okay.
On the 16th. Debate show, yeah, August 16th. Okay.
So no shows for Jack on the Glove Fist or the debate show or this show next week. Wish him well. You'll have a good time, I'm sure, whatever you're doing. And have fun at the ball game, too. And I hope the ratings don't go up with me absent. Well, this will be a Mike and the Mad Dog thing. I might change the whole show around while you're gone. We got to talk about those guys sometime. We should do that, yes. Have a great weekend. Guys, actually, I'll see you tomorrow or today, however you want to look at it. 3:00 with the MLB update, and Sunday Stream of Consciousness on Sunday at 8:30 Eastern. We'll see you later. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye. Really? Let's say it exact.